So I like to think that I stay in touch with as many medical students and pre-meds as possible, not just because of my vested interests here on YouTube as a content creator, but because I remember what it was like to be at that stage of training, and moving forward, I do want to, at least for a little bit of my academic practice and that part of my job, to be involved in medical education. And to that extent, lately I've spoken to a lot of medical students, and many of them have started to share with me more often that they've stopped watching videos and content from medical content creators because of how depressing it is lately. And many of these medical students that I talk to have told me that they're not even excited for residency at this point anymore. And at first glance, why should they be? All they've been told is that residency is so long and it's so hard and the pay is crap. And to a certain extent, I am trying my best to try and tackle some of these problems for people that are coming up through the process right now. I made a video a little while back talking about how much money you can expect to make in residency. I broke down my entire residency paycheck, my first one anyways, and then I told you guys that I was going to try my best to raise that number as high as I could and report back to you and share some strategies on how I'm making more money in residency. And me and a few of my friends, we got together, we had some conversations, we really thought things out, and I think we've done a pretty good job with it so far. We've definitely dramatically and drastically raised our incomes relative to many other residents out there. And I want to share some of those strategies today. So in case you're new, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gianluca, aka Dr. Calcagno, and I'm a first-year family medicine resident working here in Canada. And today we're going to do exactly what I said that we were going to do. The disclaimer going into this is the answer to your problems is not just to become an influencer. I'm sure many of us, especially in residency, know I have friends that are famous influencers, people in my cohort that are doing very well on social media, but this video isn't going to just tell people to go be influencers because it's not realistic. The tips that I want to share with you today are hopefully things that anyone could do in any residency program. Yes, there's going to be different requirements. We'll get into that in a little bit. But as I've explained before, my base salary is $62,000 for a year one resident here in Ontario. After taxes and deductions, that makes out to about 1,700 Canadian given out every 2 weeks. That's after taxes and everything else. So the first thing that I did, and I think many people could do in residency to raise their income pretty significantly straight out the gate, is to teach with the university. My favorite thing to get involved with teaching is to teach clinical skills. This is done especially to first year and second year medical students. You are going to, as a resident, the commitment is about 3-hour blocks. Sometimes it could run a little bit longer, maybe 3 to 4 hours, and you need to make a lesson plan beforehand. So maybe your total commitment per session is somewhere about 5 hours per week. But when you go in and you teach the abdominal exam, the respiratory exam, cardiac exam, or anything else really, you are getting paid $75 an hour. And when you're only getting paid every 2 weeks with your regular resident salary, and your salary from teaching is almost matching your regular salary, or at least significantly approaching it, it's very impressive what you could do from teaching. And at least from my calculations for the year, I am probably going to get around, well, maybe upwards of 40 sessions done for teaching. It's going to be an additional $11,000 that I've added onto my $62,000 for the year. And this is only, just caveat here, that's only the teaching component. Sometimes you're going to be expected to do things like help out with exams, or you're going to help out with OSCEs, you're going to help out with interviews in some cases. The school doesn't pay you for that. They're only going to pay you that $75 an hour for your teaching. Would highly recommend to any resident that's looking to make a little bit more money. Now, second strategy to make more money is to take more call if your schedule will permit it. Once again, everyone's residency schedule, different blocks, different requirements, how much time you're spending in the hospital, that's all going to change. But one of the things that myself, and to an even greater extent, some of my friends have been able to capitalize a little bit more than me, is just picking up call shifts. There are so many times where throughout the residency program, someone in the program won't be able to make their call shift because they're sick or because something came up or they're on vacation. And if you identify yourself early on to the class as someone that is eager to take call shifts, the people are pretty accepting to give that to you. And I know, for example, one of my friends has, as I was studying for step 2, I really couldn't commit as heavily to this. He made it known to the entire class that he was going to take everyone's home call shift if they didn't want it. And he's been able to do, by my calculations, very well with that. Even myself, just basic picking up call whenever I could, and also my regularly scheduled call. By the end of the year, I will probably add on somewhere of about $3,000 to $5,000 additionally, just based off of call. And I went over call a little bit in my previous video, but for an in-hospital call, you're going to make about $130 to $150 for that one session that you're there in hospital, for that qualifying in-hospital call shift. For a home call shift, it's about $60, $70 for a home call. Whether or not you think that that's worth it, these call shifts really do stack up. And definitely any time where it is possible for me to stay a little bit later in the hospital so that I qualify for that call shift, I'm very eager to take that on. Not everyone's going to want to do it, but I think it is a very nice bonus that I've seen so far in my pay. Now from there, I want to quickly take a second to talk about moonlighting, because I did get questions about that before, and it was something that I had questions about myself going through residency. Moonlighting is, to my understanding, a little bit different in Canada versus the States. The requirements are slightly different. For example, normally first-year family medicine residents are not allowed to moonlight, especially unsupervised. What this means is that even though I am a first-year family medicine resident, I have my MD, I'm a doctor, you can't just put me in an emerge that's unstaffed and tell me to take over that emerge for the night. That's my understanding as it has been explained to me in the past. But the thing is that we have been offered opportunities so far to pick up moonlighting shifts, even though we fall outside of the requirements. Let me explain a little bit more. Basically, this last winter break, the hospitals were overwhelmed, as many of you saw on the news if you were tuning in, especially with increased RSV and the COVID strain on the hospitals. They needed more residents in there. And we all received a memo that if we had been through a particular service, I had already gone through pediatrics, that you could qualify to work with other pediatricians that are at the hospital and make a little bit of extra money that way. The rate that we had been promised was $50 an hour, which doesn't sound like much if you're a staff physician, but if you're a resident, that's actually really good. You pick up an 8-hour shift over the Christmas break and you make an additional $400 for that 8-hour shift, something that normally you would be expected to do just because it's a requirement of your residency. But again, that's something, it's not a mandatory part of your residency. I went to Florida, I took some time off to be with my family and spend my time with everyone down there. And I don't regret it, but it is an additional thing that I could have taken on to supplement my salary a little bit more. And then the last option to consider, at least as far as I've been able to work out so far, is to work 2 jobs or to work 3 jobs or 4 jobs. Add on another job if you're not overworked enough. And myself, many of you know, I run NextGen MD, I get my YouTube videos out, I do sometimes some work with other companies, and everything that I've been able to piece together for myself, I've been able to generate an additional about $10,000 with my own company and taking on additional work. Some of my friends have been able to do even better than that, and people that are involved in biotech or startups or consulting and helping medical students and helping out with interviews are able to do very, very well. But depending on what you decide to take on, depending on how much you want to work additionally, you can expect to make a lot more money, especially with the MD behind your name. Many students do have these opportunities that come up to them, but it all depends on how much additional work you are ready to take on and understanding that residency needs to come first. That's going to be my one caveat for this video. You need to center all of this around the importance of completing your residency. All of these other things, they're nice, but you really need to be careful to not take on more than you could manage. And it's very easy to add things to your plate. It's very difficult to take them off your plate afterwards. But especially for those of us that have other commitments, that many of my classmates are trying to get married, trying to plan, maybe they have kids already and they need a little bit of that additional income supplement, then these options are available to you. So if you do the math, from my $62,000, I am projected by the end of the year, hopefully might exceed somewhere around $87,000 to $90,000. A few of my friends, not many, but a few will definitely cross that $100,000 threshold. And then next year when we are R2s, we get a $5,000 pay increase with every single year that we're in residency. And by then, maybe a few more of us will cross that $100,000 threshold. So all this to say that I hope this video shed a little bit more of a positive light on pay in residency. I hope it made people feel a little bit better if you were worried about the amount of pay in residency that you get. And again, it's not amazing, it's not life-changing amounts of money, but the options are available to you. And if anyone knows anything that I missed, feel free to leave that in the comment section below for other medical students and residents that are also looking, and for myself. I'd love to learn more as well. But on top of all that, I hope everyone's having a great day. We'll see you all in the next one. Feel free to leave me any comments or questions down, and we'll have a discussion in the comment section. And everyone take care.